Continuing the cry of the 10th author that is called Zax. There is no being in the outermost abyss, but constant forms come forth from the nothingness of it. Then the devil, the author, that mighty devil, Coronzon, crieth aloud, Zazas, Zazas, na satanana Zazas. I am the master form, and from me all forms proceed. I am he. I have shut myself up from the spendthrifts. My gold is safe in my treasure chamber, and I have made every living thing my concubine, and none shall touch them, save only I. And yet I am scorched, even while I shiver in the wind. He hateth me, and tormenteth me. He would have stolen me from myself, but I shut myself up, and mock at him. Even while he plagueth me, from me come leprosy, and pox, and plague, and cancer, and cholera, and the falling sickness. Ah, I will reach up to the knees of the Most High, and tear his phallus with my teeth, and I will bray his testicles into mortar, and make poison thereof, to slay the sons of men. Here the spirit stimulated the voice of Frater P, which also appeared to come from his station, and not from the triangle. I don't think I can get any more. I think that's all there is. The Frater was seated in a secret place that covered completely by a black robe, in the position called Thunderbolt. He did not move or speak during the ceremony. Next, the scribe was hallucinated, believing that before him was a beautiful courtesan whom previously he had loved in Paris. Now she wooed him with soft words and glances, but he knew these things for delusions of the devil, and he would not leave the circle. The demon then laughed, wildly and loudly, upon the scribe, threatening him. The demons proceeded after a short delay. They have called me the god of laughter, and I laugh when I will slay. And they have thought that I could not smile, but smile upon whom I would seduce. O inviolable one, thou canst not be tempted. If thou canst command me by the power of the Most High, know that I did indeed tempt thee, and it repenteth me. I bow myself humbly before the great and terrible names, whereby thou hast conjured and constrained me. But thy name is mercy, and I cry aloud for pardon. Let me come and put my head beneath thy feet, that I may serve thee. For if thou commandest me to obedience in the holy names, I cannot swerve therefrom. For the first whispering is greater than the noise of all my tempests. Bid me, therefore, come unto thee upon my hands and knees, that I may adore thee, and partake of thy forgiveness. Is not thy mercy infinite? Here Coronzon attempts to seduce the scribe by appealing to his pride, but the scribe refused to be tempted, and commanded the demon to continue with the author. There was again a short delay. Coronzon hath no form, because he is the maker of all form. And so rapidly he changeth from one to the other, as he may best think fit, to seduce those whom he hateth, the servants of the Most High. Thus taken, he the form of a beautiful woman, are of a wise and holy man, are of a serpent that writheth upon the earth, ready to sting, and because he is himself, therefore he is no self, the terror of darkness, and the blindness of night, and the deafness of the adder, and the tastelessness of stale and stagnant water, and the black fire of hatred, and utters of the cat of slime, not one thing, but many things. Yet, with all that, his torment is eternal. The sun burns him as he writhes naked upon the sands of hell, and the wind cuts him bitterly to the bone, a harsh, dry wind, so that he is sore athirst. Give unto me, I pray thee, one drop of water from the pure springs of paradise, that I may quench my thirst. The scribe refused. Sprinkle water upon my head. I can hardly go on. This last was spoken from the triangle in the natural voice of the frater, which Coronzon again stimulated, but he did not succeed in taking the frater's form, which was absurd. The scribe resisted the appeal to his pity, and conjured the demon to proceed by the names of the Most High. Coronzon attempted also to seduce the faithlessness of the scribe. A long colloquy ensued. The scribe cursed him by the holy names of God and the power of the pentagram. I feed upon the names of the Most High. I churn them in my jaws. I void them from my fundament. I fear not the power of the pentagram, for I am the master of the triangle. My name is 333, and that is thrice one. Be vigilant, therefore. I warn thee that I am about to deceive thee. I shall say words that thou wilt take to be the cry of Aethyr, and thou wilt write them down, thinking them to be great secrets of magic power, and they will only be my jesting with thee. Here the scribe invoked angels, and the holy guardian angel of the Frater P. The demon replied, I know the name of the angel of thee and thy brother P, and all thy dealings with him are but a cloak for thy filthy sorceries. Here the scribe averted that he knew more than the demon, and so feared him not, and ordered the demon to proceed. Thou canst tell me naught that I know not, for in me is all knowledge. Knowledge is my name. Is not the head of the great serpent arisen into knowledge? Here the scribe again commanded Coronzon to continue with the call. Know thou that there is no cry in the 10th Aethyr like unto the other cries, for Coronzon is dispersion, and cannot fix his mind upon any one thing for any length of time. Thou canst master him in argument. O talkative one, thou wast commanded, wast thou not, to talk to Coronzon? He sought not to enter the circle, or to leave the triangle, yet thou didst prate all of these things. Here the scribe threatened the demon with anger and pain and hell. The demon replied, Thinkest thou, O fool, that there is any anger and any pain that I am not, or any hell, but this my spirit? Images, images, images. All without control, all without reason. The malice of Coronzon is not the malice of a being, it is the quality of malice, because he that boasteth himself, I am I, hath in truth no self, and these are they that are fallen under my power, the slaves of the blind one that boasteth himself to be the enlightened one, for there is no centre, nay, nothing but dispersion. Woe, 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 threefold to him that is led away by talk, O talkative one, O thou that hast written 32 books of wisdom, and art more stupid than an owl. By thine own talk is thy vigilance wearied, and by my talk thou art befooled and tricked. O thou that sayest that thou shalt endure, knowest thou how nigh thou art to destruction? For thou that art the scribe hast not the understanding that alone availeth against Coronzon, and wert thou not protected by the holy names of God and the circle, I would rush upon thee and tear thee. For when I made myself like unto a beautiful woman, if thou hadst to come to me, I would have rotted thy body with the pox, and thy liver with cancer, and I would have torn off thy testicles with my teeth. And if I had seduced thy pride, and thou hadst bidden me to come into the circle, I would have trampled thee under foot, and for 1,000 years shouldst thou have been but one of the tapeworms that is in me. And if I had seduced thy pity, and thou hast poured one drop of water without the circle, then would I have blasted thee with flame, but I was not able to prevail against thee. How beautiful are the shadows of the ripples of the sand! Would God that I were dead, for I know that I am proud and revengeful and mischievous, and I prate even as thou. For even as I walked among the sons of God, I heard it said that P could both will and know, and might learn at length to dare, but that to keep silence he should never learn. O thou that art so ready to speak, so slow to watch, thou art delivered over unto my power for this. And now one word was necessary unto me, and I could not speak it. I behold the beauty of the earth in her desolation, and greater far is mine, who sought to be my naked self. Knowest thou that in my soul is utmost fear, and such is my force and my cunning, that 100 times have I been ready to leap, and for fear have missed, and 1,000 times I am balked by them of the city of the pyramids, that set snares for my feet. More knowledge have I than the Most High, but my will is broken, my fierceness is marred by fear, and I must ever speak, 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 millions of mad voices in my brain. And for the line, for thou art the scribe that hast not the understanding. Originally for understanding was written power. Coronzon was always some word that did not represent his thought. Because there is no proper link between his thought and speech, note that he never seems to be able to distinguish between the frater and the scribe. and addresses the first one, then the other, in some sentence. With a heart of furious fancies, whereof I am commander, with a burning spear and a horse of air, to the wilderness I wander. The idea was to keep the scribe busy writing, so as to spring upon him. For while the scribe talked, Coronzon had thrown sand into the circle and filled it up. But Coronzon could not think fast and continuously, and so resorted to the device of quotation. The scribe had written 2 or 3 words of Tom O Bedlam, when Coronzon sprang within the circle, that part of the circumference of which that was nearest to him he had been filling up with sand all this time, and leaped upon the scribe, throwing him to the earth. The conflict took place within the circle. The scribe called upon Tetragrammaton, and succeeded in compelling Coronzon to return into his triangle. By dint of anger, and by threatening him with the magic staff, did he accomplish this. He then repaired the circle. The discomfited demon now continued, all is dispersion. These are the qualities of things. The 10th Aethyr is the world of adjectives, and there is no substance therein. Now returned the beautiful woman, who had before tempted the scribe. She prevailed not. I am afraid of sunset, for Tum is more terrible than Ra, and Kefra the beetle is greater than the lion man. The lion mow. I am a cold. Here, Coronzon wanted to leave the triangle, to obtain therewith to cover his nakedness. The scribe refused the request, threatening the demon. After a while, the latter continued, I am commanded, why I know not, by him that speaketh. Were it thou, thou little fool, I would tear thee limb from limb. I would bite off thine ears and nose before I began with thee. I would take thy guts for fiddle strings at the black Sabbath. Thou that didst make a great flight there in the circle, thou art a goodly warrior. Then did the demon laugh loudly. The scribe said, Thou canst not harm one hair of my head. I will pull out every hair of thy head, every hair of thy body, every hair of thy soul, one by one. Then said the scribe, Thou hast no power. Yea, verily, I have power over thee, for thou hadst taken the oath, and art bound unto the white brothers, and before have I the power to torture thee, so long as thou shalt be. Then said the scribe unto him, Thou liest. Ask of thy brother P, and he shall tell thee if I lie. This the scribe refused to do, saying it was no concern of the demons. I have prevailed against the kingdom of the Father, and befouled his beard, and I have prevailed against the kingdom of the Son, and torn off his phallus. But against the kingdom of the Holy Ghost shall I strive and not prevail. The 3 slain doves are my threefold blasphemy against him, but their blood shall make fertile the sand, and I writhe in blackness and horror of hate, and prevail not. Then the demon tried to make the scribe laugh at magic, and to think that it was all rubbish, that he might deny the names of God that he had invoked to protect him, which, if he had doubled but for an instant, he had leapt upon him and gnawed through his spine at the neck. Coronzon succeeded not in his design. And this author is neither beginning nor end, for it is all hotchpotch, because it is of the wicked on earth and the damned in hell, and so long as it be hotchpotch, it mattereth little what may be written by the sea-green, incorruptible scribe. The horror of it will be given in another place and time, and through another seer, and that seer shall be slain as a result of his revealing. But the present seer, who is not P, seeth not the horror, because he is shut up, and hath no name. Now there was some further parleying betwixt the demon and the scribe concerning the departure and the writing of the word. The scribe not knowing if it were meet that the demon should depart. Then the seer took the holy ring and wrote the name of Babylon, that is victory over Coronzon. And he was no more manifest. This cry was obtained on December 6th, 1909, between 2 and 4:15 p.m. in a lonely valley of fine sand in the desert near Bausada. The author was edited and revised on the following day. After the conclusion of the ceremony, a great fire was kindled to purify the place, and the circle and triangle were destroyed. Now, we see some issues with the Gahtaya that are brought up in the Goetia, as it would be pronounced in Latin. Series shows that you don't have to invoke or evoke these things. In the Quran, we're told, that names of God are misused, but one of the things that we're seeing with this is that the demons are like, okay, misuse it all you want, but it's like, I know what you are. I know you're not, you don't mean these names in some of the monotheist ways that they inherently linguistically mean. So, you're not exercising anything or, that sort of stuff. And look at what I've got you to do. You followed my instructions, not God's, or one of my legions, as it would be said. So, the idea you can call up demons and then make them obey you because you're going to mention God, that's, kind of silly, don't you think? And worshiping the names and the symbols rather than a god, that doesn't protect you from demons either. It can be a psychological barrier. Note by scribe, almost from the beginning of the ceremony, was the scribe overshadowed, and he spoke as if it were in spite of himself, remembering afterwards scarcely a word of his speeches, some of which were long and seemingly eloquent. All the time he had a sense of being protected from Coronzon, and this sense of security prevented his knowing fear. Several times the scribe threatened to put a curse upon the demon, but ever before he uttered the words of the curse did the demon obey him. For himself he knoweth not the words of the curse. Also it is meet to record in this place that the scribe several times whistled in a magical manner, which never before had he attempted, and the demon was apparently much discomfited thereat. an old Celtic magical thing of whistling without words and that sort of stuff. Well, all of Europe, really, but yeah, sort of a particular way about it. Now knoweth the scribe that he was wrong in holding much converse with the demon, but Choronzon, in the confusion and chaos of his thought, is much terrified by silence, and by silence can he be brought to obey. For cunning doth he talk of many things, going from subject to subject, and thus he misleadeth the wary into argument with him. And though Choronzon be easily beaten in argument, yet by disturbing the attention of him who would command him, doth he gain the victory. For Choronzon feareth of all things concentration and silence. He that therefore would command him should will in silence. Thus is he brought to obey. This the scribe knoweth, for that since the obtaining of the accursed 10th Aethyr, he hath held converse with Choronzon, and unexpectedly did he obtain the information that he sought, after having long refused to answer the demon's speeches. Choronzon is dispersion, and such is his fear of concentration, that he will obey rather than be subjected to it, or even behold it in another. The account of the further dealings of Choronzon with the scribe will be found in the record of Omnia Vincam. And one of the things, Choronzon, we've heard the mention in the Gnostic and Christian Satanism series that I did. It's given both the female and the Holy Ghost attribute. When we refer to God, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, they're metaphors, and there's other issues with the whole Christian Trinity idea. So upper sex, Barbelo, Aperamento, the agents as Othimlogos, but Choronzon, this is a unique, because we're talking 53 squares with that extra one there. The blank squares were of a particular importance. The 10th Aethyr, except for that first L of Lixarpe, Komanen, Tabiatom, that series of 3, all the letters are doubled, which is very unique also.